want you to hit me as hard as you can.
We'll tear your soul apart.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
Now the dream is over. Send it away.
Hey everybody, what's up? This is Talking Movies. My name is Josh, and this is the show where me and my friends pick a movie every week and we talk about it. And today, Randy couldn't make it today. He had some personal stuff going on, so it's just going to be Clay and Chris today.
What's up?
But last week we picked The Visitor from 1979, and we're gonna talk about this insane movie.
Her name is Katie Collins. She'll be 8 years old.
Yeah, I don't really know how to describe it. I'm gonna read the description off of Letterboxd just to start out, and then we can kind of piece it together.
Fantasize
out of all the disparate elements going on. So the Letterboxd description says, an ancient intergalactic warrior arrives on Earth to put a stop to a demonic child's plot to reproduce Satan's next generation of evil. Is that the movie that we watched?
Loosely, because I was gonna say a second ago, it's not a horror movie. It's barely even a sci-fi movie, except for the first 5 minutes. And then the last 5 minutes, I mean, there's a few little things sprinkled in here or there, but it's just kind of like a weird kid movie.
Yeah, yeah. It's well, let's. So I bought the actual out of print Blu-ray disc because I had picked this movie a couple of weeks ago, and I was, looking at Wikipedia and stuff like what is the story with this? Like, how did this get made? And there's nothing online about it. I couldn't really find anything, so I found this out of print Blu-ray, and I was like, oh, it's got some special features. It's got a little booklet and stuff, so maybe I can deduce something. Some kind of history behind this. And they actually had a couple of interviews, and it had the booklet is like a whole interview with the producer of the movie. So I did sort of learn some interesting things. So
okay.
So
it had some actors in it too. Like, it wasn't just a low budget nothing.
Yeah, so that's a good place to start, actually. So the movie is starring like a whole bunch of classic actors and directors. I mean, the John Huston is the old man, who is the director of. He's like one of the classic directors. He did The Maltese Falcon and like Treasure of the Sierra Madre, and he's one of the classic directors. He's shows up in movies like Chinatown and stuff, like classic movies. And you've got people like Shelley Winters, who's in Night of the Hunter and other classic movies like that.
Was she the maid?
Yeah, she's the maid.
Yeah.
You've got Lance Henriksen. He's just starting out his career, but everyone knows who Lance Henriksen is now.
Bishop.
Yeah. Glenn Ford is the detective who's in it for like 10 minutes. And he's, from a bunch of classic noirs. Franco Nero is Space Jesus at the beginning and end of the movie.
Did he have a fake beard glued to part of his chin?
I don't know if it was a fake beard. I mean, it was definitely
part of it
crazy
looks
wig.
real, and then it has like a anyway.
Oh, it might have been. I'd have to go back and look. But the last person I want to mention is Sam Peckinpah.
Yeah.
It is has one scene in this movie.
Can we even say the word on YouTube? But yeah, he's the doctor that does the thing, the ex-boyfriend or baby daddy or whatever.
Yeah, he's the
he
baby
was.
daddy,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Huh?
So yeah, I'll get into that in a few minutes. But he was actually supposed to be in the movie more, and all his stuff got cut out.
Okay.
That was Peckinpah, the doctor was.
That was Peckinpah, yeah.
I thought it was hilarious because he was like going off on this chick, and then he's like, okay, sorry, tell me what the problem is. And she's like, and he's like, no, go ahead. It was I was like, man, what a guy. He's a good communicator.
Right. Oh, and all his lines are dubbed. Very obviously dubbed.
There was a lot of dubbing in this.
Well, I mean, let's get into it. This is an Italian movie.
Is
you
it?
know what? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Man.
Oh yeah. It's an Italian movie. And I like Italian movies. I probably like Italian movies at most out of the group. And I like Argento, and I like the spaghetti westerns and stuff like that. And but yeah, I mean, the Italians are most known for ripoffs. You know, they basically take whatever genre is popular at the time, and they run it into the ground. You know, in the only reason they did spaghetti westerns because you know the 50s westerns were so popular. And, you know, Leone made some really good ones, and they just branched off from there. But you know, they did giallos because those were basically Hitchcock movies that were just more salacious. And they're just thrillers.
Yeah, there's millions of those.
Oh my god, there's so many. I mean, I've seen a bunch. I've seen probably like 30 or 40, and I've barely scratched the surface on those movies. There's hundreds of them.
Jess Franco's not Italian, is he? He's German, isn't he?
Jess Franco, I'm not sure. I don't know his.
He does a bunch of.
But I think you. Yeah. I know who he is. I don't know his background though. I think you might be right though. I think it might be German.
I was just thinking maybe they ran that into the ground too.
Oh, yeah, probably. But this movie, it starts out as a ripoff. So on the disc, the most enlightening thing on the disc was it was a interview with a screenwriter that they brought, an American screenwriter that they brought in because he could speak Italian and English, and he just kind of lays out the story. Like, he talks to this producer. The producer is like, okay, here's what we want. Like, real bluntly, we want to make a ripoff of The Exorcist, but it can't look like a ripoff. So that's where they start. And then, I mean, you can kind of see that with, I mean, the little kid even looks like Linda Blair.
Yeah, she does.
I mean, you get those vibes, I think. But the movie feels like a ripoff of like 17 different horror movies. I mean, there's so much Omen in there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the Omen. I was thinking Rosemary's Baby too, because at one point they're impregnating the mom, and
Close Encounters maybe, where they like abduct the chick.
Yes, I wrote down the most obvious ones. Is The Exorcist, Rosemary's Baby, The Omen, Close Encounters, and a little bit of Star Wars, because John Huston is basically Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah. Just with birds instead of lightsabers.
Yeah, and then the birds is the other one. It's like basically Hitchcock's birds.
I missed the birds. It's so obvious.
There's so many birds in this movie.
Man.
But so yeah, this screenwriter, the producer was like, okay, we need you to sort of, just write this screenplay and kind of rein in this director because he's really, really out there. Like he's crazy. And apparently this guy had, he'd worked with other directors, but he'd never directed his own movie. This is his first feature. But he was mostly known for doing commercials, but I also saw that he did like first unit for like Fellini's 8.5 and stuff like that. So he worked with other directors,
Okay.
but mostly known for commercials. And I think that kind of unlocks this whole movie because it's not really a movie. It's a bunch of scenes.
Yeah, it's a mishmash of everything, just thrown in a blender, and this is what came out.
Pretty
It's
much,
making
yeah.
a lot more sense, though. I'm glad we're having this discussion because I was like, I need to know what the hell happened here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
so
I know what happened in the movie. It just there's just so many just weird little things that go on and weird dialogue and like kind of stuff, particularly toward the end, like stuff starts jumping back and forth. Like, wait, the little girl's like attacking the mother, and nope, she's being chased by the guy. It's like, nope, she's back with like it doesn't make a lot of sense.
The editing is wild. It's cross-cutting and things are jumping around all over the place. Yeah. So this screenwriter, he writes an actual script, but the director is just like, he's changing his mind every day. It's just like a new thing he wants to do, and he's just a weird dude, and he's paranoid that he's gonna get fired off of this movie, and he thinks that the screenwriter is part of it, and he does get fired off of the movie because he's crazy. And so they send him back to Italy, and he goes and cries to they weren't sure what part of the family it was. It's like a cousin or a brother or something. And his brother goes to the producer's office and holds a gun to his head and says,
"Wow,
well, you're going to call Giulio, the director, and tell him he's got his job back."
Were they part of the Sicilian setup or something?
I mean, the way that they were talking about it, it sounded like they were mobbed up. But he didn't, it didn't really know because he wasn't really involved. It's just like a secondhand story. But it's absolutely insane. And the director thinks that the screenwriter was involved with, him getting fired, so he hates him. And while all this happening, like he had actually like created a story, like made a real script, and the director picks it up. Like he's back in his office, and he's like, "I'm big and bad, I got my job back. Like, F you." And the screenwriter brings him the finished script, and he just looks at the cover page, and he's like, "I hate it," and he throws it out the window. And then he fires the screenwriter. So that's pretty much how it went. So from there on, this guy just had free reign to do whatever he wanted.
Oh my god!
And
so we have this abomination.
And so we have this absolute mishmash of nonsense.
Wheelchairs and aliens and
lots of birds and lots of breaking glass.
And runways on the rooftop. Like, what is that about?
Dude, just light shows for days. John Huston does absolutely nothing in this movie. He just kind of walks around.
Yeah, there's a lot of just him kind of following people, or the girl following him, or I can't remember exactly what it was. But they don't.
He's like the Yahweh
anything,
figure, right?
Yeah,
he's like the Jesus guy.
Yeah, he's supposed to be. So apparently he's supposed to be like an exorcist type of thing. So she is like possessed by the devil or something, and he is some sort of exorcist. And what he's doing at the light show at the end of the movie is he's exorcising the demon. Yeah, that's what that's supposed to mean.
That was.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that happen that are just completely unexplained. Like the when he goes up to the roof at one point, and there's all of these guys with like bald heads and stuff, and he's just like walking around the roof and staring at people, and there's no one saying anything.
Yeah.
But apparently this is a group of like retired exorcists that he's hired that just never show back up in the movie as far as I remember.
You'd think
Yeah.
they'd have some, like an army they could put together or something, but they're all like, "No, I'm retired." Like,
they're just there. There's just a lot of things like that don't never tie back in. They're just things that happen.
I thought it was really convenient that like it felt like he just appeared in the movie. He was part of the household suddenly. And
he was the
then,
babysitter. He shows
then
up as the
mom,
babysitter.
mom is like tormented, right? She gets shot in the spine. She gets in a wheelchair.
Oh
she
my
gets
god, we got to talk
forcefully
about
impregnated. Like,
we got to talk
and
about
then-
the birthday thing
dude,
because
and then like she goes through all this crazy stuff, and finally he shows up to help her. And I was like, dude, you could have showed up to help her
Yeah.
like at the beginning. Like,
look, he
you
never
waited
does
until-
anything. He just observes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
He's just
waited
walking around
until-
staring at people. Like
It was
I was kind of scrubbing through the movie, like about an hour ago, just to refresh some of the scenes. And he never does anything. There's this whole sequence where she's at the ice rink. It's like a 15-minute long sequence or something. She's just skating around, and then she throws these guys through windows and stuff.
Yeah, there's a bunch of teenagers chasing around like a 10-year-old girl.
Yeah.
in
and she just
formation.
throws them around for 10 minutes.
It's
and
just
then-
random the Omen scenes, like just like where weird stuff happens, like just scenes where people die at the end. There's the other one with the thing that falls on the hot dog stand at one point.
Yeah,
like,
the scaffolding.
yeah, but it's just like scenes from the Omen, just like creepy,
Well,
supernatural stuff.
The
happening.
crash through the aquarium, like there was a plate. I remember like there was some glass in the Omen that fell and chopped this person's, and so I was like, oh, this is the glass in the Omen.
Definitely. Yeah, I see. I can definitely see that too.
Yeah, and particularly with the thing falling on the hot dog stand, like it wasn't clear of who actually made that happen
No.
because there was kind of like she was kind of getting some powers and doing it, but like you could see from the side there was like a dude with a wrench.
There was a
Like,
wrench.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Like undoing. So it's like, okay, well maybe he's putting some kind of trap or something like that for her.
Oh man,
But like, yeah, it makes no sense. And it falls down and he just kind of pops up from behind it.
I love that he
Like-
popped up from the rubble. He just like boop, he peeks his head around. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's just a lot of crazy
get me?
stuff. The birthday scene is probably the most hilarious thing I've ever seen because
So what killed me is she had all these powers, right? She's opening doors, she's, making these things happen, but people can hide from her no problem. Like mom goes and leaves and she's like, where's my mother? And I'm like, you have all these special powers, you don't know where your mom is? Like you can do all this other crazy stuff, but GPS, like that's not your thing. You can't find mom.
She's still like just a bratty little kid, even
Or
though she's.
fly. I would love it if she could fly.
Yeah, I don't think it was in the budget. I just don't think it was in the budget.
Yeah.
She just
But-
ran far.
I was saying, but it was never clear of like, did she put the gun in the present and swap it out? I mean, I assume so, but like, where did she get a gun and like, why?
Well,
Like, what was the point?
Well, the other thing we haven't mentioned is the evil cabal of
Yes.
rich people,
Corporate. Yeah.
corporate
cabal.
evil. Yeah,
Corporate Satanists.
yeah. That Lance Henriksen is involved in because he has to marry the mom because she has to get pregnant and give birth to the new Antichrist or something.
I mean, I guess
That's
the
a great-
Antichrist couldn't be a girl. Like, I didn't get. Yeah, well,
I
there's no.
guess, yeah.
Why it needed to they needed to have another one. Like she already existed. I guess they do. Yeah, they needed a boy. They couldn't use the girl. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's just a Rosemary's Baby thing. You just like you just like are creating an objective for the evil to create. It's like we just gotta, the devil's gonna come down into this girl so that she can make her mom marry the evil cabal guy, and they can have a devil baby.
But
Go ahead.
So I wanted to say earlier, like it's not even clear if the whole space Jesus, Obi-Wan Kenobi, whatever, like girl with powers is really even like satanic or religious in any way. They kind of set it up as just this weird like alien Scientology space war thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
And she is just the descendant of this evil, alien species or something.
Yep.
And I took it as the weird satanic cult thing in the present was just aware of this space war, and they wanted to bring about the spawn of the evil. Yes,
yeah, let's go with it.
It wasn't necessarily like a straight up like
No.
God, devil, or Jesus and the devil. It was space stuff, and just the kind of the devil on the side.
Yep.
Choose your own adventure.
This is a have your cake and eat it too type of movie.
Why not?
I thought like when the movie started, they were like, "Oh, there's Zatan, who's the evil one, and then there's Yahweh, who's the good one." And I was like, "Okay, this makes sense." Jesus' name is Yahweh, Satan's name is Zatan in this movie, and okay, we get it. But then it was, totally off the rails from there.
Yes.
Yeah. So why'd you pick this movie?
Just because it's
Peckinpah?
No, not because of Peckinpah. I mean that I was interested because he is in the movie. That was something I was like, what the hell? Because he doesn't act. But this is 79, so it's like right at the it's the end of the new Hollywood era. And it's pretty much the end of Peckinpah's career too. We can go ahead and talk about that scene. When she goes to talk to her baby daddy, who's a doctor and trying to get I'm just gonna say abortion.
The Obi-Wan guy comes in and tells her what's going on. She spins around in circles in her wheelchair for about 5 minutes.
That was awesome.
Oh yeah, she does. She just keeps spinning around in circles.
Yeah, she's just going around and around and around and around in
the living room.
And
then she shoots out the front door and I was like, huh? She's at the doctor now.
I have to go see Sam.
Yeah. Did she wheel to the doctor or did she drive to the doctor? Because I thought she was in a wheelchair.
I was wondering that too. It's like, how did she drive?
Yeah, she drove through the whole movie. And
does she have one of those cars where the accelerator's on the steering wheel or something?
I mean, she was rich, so I assume she just I'm handicapped now. I'm just gonna deck out my car. But did they have that kind of stuff back in the 70s?
She had a car phone. Idea. Did you notice the car phone?
She did. She did. Although her battery just randomly dies for no reason.
Man.
Yeah. But sorry. So crazy, another crazy series of events, and then she goes to the doctor.
Yeah. Well, and so apparently Peckinpah was supposed to have like a much more significant part in the movie. This is the end of his career, pretty close to the end of his career. This is way past the Wild Bunch and all his big movies. Most of his major stuff was more towards the beginning of the 70s. By the end of the 70s, he was he was alcoholic, and he was he had started to get into like cocaine and things towards the end of the 70s, I think. So he was pretty strung out, and apparently from what I read, he just completely wasted. That's one of the reasons he's completely dubbed, in the movie. It's not his voice at all.
Okay.
It's a different voice. You can tell. Yeah, because he couldn't remember his lines. He was like slurring, and he was supposed to have like multiple scenes, and they only used that one scene because he was just out of
Completely
there.
incoherent.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the whole reason he did the movie apparently is because he needed money to try and do his next movie. I'm sure that's why John Huston and some of those other people were there too, because they have no reason to do that other than to just get a little cash.
Yeah. What
But
cash
some
are they really getting though?
I don't know. I know Houston had done some other Italian stuff too, just to get money. I think a lot of the classic directors and actors and stuff. They in the 70s they weren't getting much work. So they take whatever they could get. That's why you see a lot of that's kind of what Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is about a little bit. It sort of shows a little bit of that. A lot of those guys just got phased out at the end of the 60s. And so they're just taking whatever they can get. They're going to Italy and Germany and doing the exploitation movies to get whatever they can get.
Yeah.
But Houston had done a movie called Tentacles, which is like a Jaws ripoff with it's like a squid monster or something instead. And that's how he got hooked up with this this producer that made the movie. But I mean, they were all doing stuff, just cheapos, lots of cheapo movies.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. What else is there to talk about?
What was your favorite part?
One of my favorite scenes is we didn't even talk about the detective because he's only in like one little piece of the movie. It's super random. Like you would think it's like a super standard part of a movie like this. You have a detective like finding the clues and figuring out what's going on, and he's like in 2 scenes and then he dies.
Yeah.
Like you can completely cut that out of the movie and it doesn't make any sense, any difference at all. You could just excise that and no one would miss it.
Yeah.
But it is a funny part of the movie when he gets attacked by the birds and all the carnage. When his car flips over and lights on fire, and the what is it, the fencing has like completely wrapped around the car, and he can't climb out the window. I was like, oh shit, that's actually kind of cool. I've never seen that before. Like you just actually can't get out of the car like that. Thought that was funny.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess the birds, I'm going to say the birds were controlled by, well, or was it was just one bird, her pet bird, but it was controlled by the satanic cult guys or was she controlling the bird?
But at the end of the movie, the birds kill Lance Henriksen and are like attacking the little girl. So it's like, are they good or bad? I don't know where the birds fall.
See, I thought like the original bird was just her pet bird that did her bidding or whatever. But it gets involved. Well, it gets involved in like killing the detective and all that stuff. Is like, okay, well, I guess like the cult is actually like motivating the bird or something like that.
Yep.
That's just another weird like hole that never really gets explained.
Her bird did not have the switchblade beak though. The switchblade beak was reserved for the god bird.
Yeah.
That killed Lance Henriksen.
Right.
Yeah.
That was really
something.
What was your favorite scene, Chris?
The end with the birds. And
birds.
Yeah. It's pretty great.
The switchblade just comes out of nowhere and stabs him in the neck. It's like,
that one bird is like flying around at him and he's like just reacting to it like like jumping backwards and stuff.
I mean like they didn't even try to make like real looking birds. It's just just like a bird decoy or a plastic bird that they that they just stuck a knife to or something.
Well, there's all those birds that are circling around the girl at the end too, and it's just like you can tell it's just like they're all on strings and
Yeah.
just like circling around her.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
and
was-
she's in like a box or something, a plexiglass box. You can see the plexiglass.
Right. Yeah.
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 That was pretty hilarious.
It was funny. What was your favorite scene, Hugh?
Man, I think there's a couple conversations, and I'm really struggling here, but there's the little girl goes to her mom and she's like, "This house is way too big, and I want you to spend more time with me, and I want a brother." And I was like, "What? Like,
Yeah.
you just go to your mom and tell her you need to have a kid, you need to sell the house, and you need to pay more attention to me." I thought that was really odd. And then like when Lance Hendrickson and the wife are talking, she's like, "It's not going to get any easier as the years go by. Then we're all alone." It was like the most. It's like the conversation. I was like, "Good God!"
So on that Blu-ray, there was also an interview with Lance Henriksen from like maybe like 5 years ago, whenever the Blu-ray came out, and you can tell he's just like, "Oh my god!" He's like, "Y'all want to talk about this movie?
This
Why?"
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, "This is the start of my career. I had no idea what was going on in every scene. Like, they didn't give me any direction. They were just like, say this line, react this way." And he was just like, "All right." And he was like, I think most of the movie is in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something else I wanted to bring up too.
Yes.
It's only because Georgia is a right to work state.
Okay.
So you can get cheap labor.
Yeah, that's what I figured. It was just
Yeah.
tax-free something. It was cheap to work
Yes.
with.
You don't have to go union. You can hire people cheap.
So I noticed like everybody was like, no, when they talked. I was like, where in the hell?
Yeah,
Georgia. I had a guy train me at work one time. He's from Georgia, and he was all, "My little old grandmama and my little old grandpapa" and stuff. And I was like, man, this guy's accent is thick. And that's the way the little girls was just,
yes,
"No, mama, I'm not coming with you." I was like, what? It was really something.
She had the worst accent.
It was
it's pretty crazy. It's
I want to know where my mama is. Dude.
And she had just the worst angry face too. Like every time she was, doing something, she just this face over and over again throughout the whole movie.
Her reactions were like always supposed to be the complete opposite of what you would expect. So like mom's getting beaten and whatever, she's like, and can't find mom, she's sad and mad, and it was like the complete opposite of any child, like the way they would react. I think.
Yeah,
it was weird. It was a weird ass movie.
Yeah,
definitely weird ass movie.
I did but I didn't dislike it. It was a pretty good time. I never wanted to turn it off.
Weird.
Like it wasn't just so weird. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, I could kind of follow what was going on. I mean, nothing they were doing was making sense, but at least like got the gist of the plot it was supposed to have, I think.
Yeah. I wish it was like 85 minutes and not almost 2 hours, but it's pretty fun. Like there's always some weird something happening in every scene, so it kind of keeps your attention.
Yeah, but I heard it was bonkers. It was crazy. So like I was expecting some, I don't know, some blood, some fights, or something like that, and it didn't really go there. It was just weird dialogue, weird editing, and
it's almost just like a psychedelic experience. It's like there's so many just like bombastic music and people walking downstairs and staring at each other, and
I was kind of pressed for time, so I had to watch it in 1.5 speed, like towards the end especially. And my son comes down and he's like, "What is this freaky G.I. Joe music that they keep playing on the like It was like all the climactic
music.
parts, so they'd have this weird GI Joe '70s music that didn't match the mood of the movie at all.
No.
It was just wacky.
Well,
And
like,
then 1.5 times on top of that, it was really wacky.
Sounds like
Yeah, I bet.
circus music or something.
yeah, but like, dude had a theme song. Like every time he showed up and did something,
Oh
he
yeah.
had his little theme song that played.
Yes, it was terrible.
Oh yeah. It just like as soon as he walked up some stairs or something, it's just like ba ba ba.
Yeah,
Ugh. So bad. But it was like you said, it was so bad it's good kind of.
Yeah, it's just like what the hell? It's just
was
a
good time.
WTF movie. Like
Yeah.
what is this?
And then you describing the backstory of all the stuff that went on. Now I'm really like, man, that is crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy that this movie came about the way it did. So
Yeah. I feel like it's just a series of commercials he shot. Just like I'm
Pretty
just gonna make
much.
some weird light shows here, and then we're gonna have a scene where a car flips over here, and it's just a bunch of scenes put together.
yeah.
You
They
know?
just, I was gonna say they just had a bunch of scripts, but they only had budget for one movie,
Yeah.
so they just mismatched the best parts of each script and fit them together to somehow make a movie.
Yep.
Awesome.
Pretty much. That's
yeah.
that's the visitor.
Yeah.
That's the visitor.
Yeah.
Oh, the maid though. The maid slapping the shit out of the little girl. Just dad. I was like, whoa! They don't do it like that anymore. That's
You're right.
from the maid.
She's such a weird character.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
such a nothing.
Shortbread.
Oh my.
She kept saying that. I was like, what?
Just
Yeah.
weird.
And
Yeah.
she's supposed to be a plant.
Yeah, she's
Of a,
at the end when John Huston's doing the exorcism thing with all the lights and stuff. She shows up and she's like a phantom character
She's
too.
Mary
or something.
Poppins or something.
but again, she
Yeah.
doesn't really do anything. She's just there watching.
Right, just like John Huston, not really doing anything, just
Yeah.
watching.
Yeah.
He throws his hands in the air and makes some lights happen.
And birds. Let's not
And
forget
some
the birds.
birds. Yeah, lots of birds. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I mean,
Yeah.
at the end, we go back to Space Jesus, and the little girl is bald now,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
that's the end of the movie. You know, pretty.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wrapped it up nice and tight. Put a bow on it.
Cue
Oh,
the music.
I found out like Franco Nero didn't even get paid to be in the movie. He was just like, "Oh, John Huston's in this movie. Give me a part." So they just gave it to him just because he wanted to be in the movie with some famous directors and stuff.
Wow.
Just like, just make me Space Jesus. That's cool.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
Just
it didn't have that big
random.
of a part, but
No,
sure.
yeah,
It's critical of the plot.
very, very important.
Kinda.
I was kind of expecting in the beginning because he was explaining everything to the kids. I was half expecting it to be like a voiceover, and he was going to explain us through the movie or something. But
No.
that probably would have been, made too much sense.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting him to show up at the end of the movie and like save the day. Fly in, Space Jesus,
No, he's the babysitter. He's
Yeah.
got to watch all those kids.
Yeah.
Instead, the mom, her whole life was torched and nobody saved her, and it doesn't make any sense. Like, those ethereal powers did absolutely zero until the very last minute, and dude,
Mhm.
it doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But she got the whole like fishing line thing around her neck at the end. Wasn't that her? Yeah,
She was,
Lance Henriksen had like tied her
she
up
was
with
getting
the
wrecked up. Mhm.
yeah, pretty bad. And the girl was like dragging her head up the stairs, and her head was like bouncing off the stairs. She really went through the ringer. But yeah,
Yep.
just a weirdo, crazy movie. You guys have any other thoughts? I'm pretty tapped out on
Yeah.
all my notes.
We
for this.
visited the visitor.
We
Yeah.
did.
I mean, we could spend another 30 minutes just going through all the plot holes, but I don't see the point in that.
No, not really. We've hit all the major moments, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
So we'll get to your pick in a few minutes, Chris. But what did you guys watch anything this week? Anything of note you guys want to bring up?
I've been watching The Dark. Dark? Is it? It's not The Dark. It's Dark on Netflix. The
Okay,
German.
yeah, I've heard about that.
And at first, I tried to watch it probably a year ago. I made it about 6 episodes deep, and I was like, "Man, this is too complicated. These Germans are getting too crazy with like the plot nuances and stuff." But man, a buddy of mine, 2 friends of mine, were actually like, "God, this show's awesome."
I've
So
heard
I fired it
good,
back
yeah.
up. It's really crazy, man. It's good.
Had
I
a
can't
couple of
stop watching.
seasons. Had a couple of seasons, right? Like
Yeah, 3, I think.
2 or 3.
3 or
Yeah,
4.
yeah.
Is
I've
it
heard a
like-
lot of good stuff.
Is it like
Been watching that.
zombies or what is it? I forget.
No, it's like time travel, kind of like a
Okay.
wormhole thing, and and then people try to change their destinies and stuff. It's pretty complicated. Like you start throwing around a time travel plot, and there's a lot of movies and shows that do it very poorly, right? They're like, oh, you can fix the future going to the past, and then they muddle that whole thing up. But it hasn't quite gotten muddled up yet. So and then it's got some freaky technology and stuff in it that they build on too. So I'm having a good time. It's but it's definitely not a feel good show. So
Yeah.
you walk away, you're
It's
kind of
dark.
like, oh yeah, it's pretty messed up. But,
Are you watching it in German?
I am watching it
You're
in
watching
German.
the
Yeah.
dub.
No, I've actually picked up some German from it. I'm like, oh yeah, what's the butterflies? Schmetterling, like, oh yeah, Schmetterling, like, oh yeah, I remember that word and stuff like that. I'm digging it. It's fun, but German is a challenge, obviously. So
Yeah.
I've been watching some of those Verhoeven movies, and they're German and like Dutch and stuff, and it's very similar. It's just like it's like sounds like you're biting their tongue the whole time. But
man, you watched The Fourth Man.
Yeah. So I watched The Fourth Man and I watched Black Book this week. Fourth Man was really, really interesting. I really dug that one actually. So that's a Paul Verhoeven before he came to the U.S. and it's about this alcoholic writer who's bisexual and falls for this lady that's into his work or something, and I don't know. It's like a noir story. It's like you find out that she's like had like 3 other wives or 3 other husbands. I mean, and all of them died mysteriously, and that he's like all paranoid and having all these weird visions, and he's not sure if it's like they're warning him that that she's gonna kill him or hurt him, or if he's just going crazy. It's unclear.
And then mix in the other lovers that show up in there.
Yeah, and then one of her other lovers shows up, and he's like more into the guy than he is her now, and it goes wild. It's so weird. It kind of feels a little bit like a Ken Russell movie because there's a lot of like religious symbolism in it, and but I really liked it. I thought it was pretty wild, pretty cool. And Black Book was cool too. Totally different than that one, but just like a really cool World War II movie from the perspective of Holland, where he's from, and this lady that is trying to escape the Nazis with her family. Her whole family gets killed. She manages to escape, and then ends up hooking up with the resistance and ends up becoming a spy. Gets the attention of this like high-ranking Nazi official who likes her, and then they ends up like sleeping with him, and like
crazy.
Yeah, really exciting actually. Like you can tell it was after his his stuff in the U.S. So you could tell he knew all the Hollywood tricks and like had the budget of for the big set pieces and stuff. There's a lot of violence and
he did Soldier of Orange, that was a Nazi kind of movie too.
Yes.
So he could probably sort of expound on the relationships in World War II with some, some knowledge of how that whole time era, that like how to execute on the time and things like that. Yeah, that's pretty cool, man.
I've been looking into him a little bit, and so he actually grew up in like Nazi occupied Holland. Like he was like 5 years old when there was like bombs being dropped around him, and that's why he says that's why his approach to violence is so so extreme, because he grew up around just crazy stuff all the time, and he just views it completely differently than other people do.
He's sort of desensitized because he saw it in real life, I guess. That's
crazy.
So was Black Book, was that the last? Didn't you say you needed one more to complete your collection or something?
I need Hollow Man.
Man.
Yeah, that's the only
Hollow
one.
Man?
Huh?
So he did Hollow Man? Yeah, I didn't know that. I haven't watched a lot of Verhoeven movies, so.
I mean, honestly, almost all of them are good. Like, I mean, Showgirls is a bad movie, but it's still like a really fun bad movie.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so excessive. It's like this. I mean, it's in the same way that The Visitor is interesting. It's just like, what the hell is this? This is wild. But
man, Josh loaned me Ellie. I don't know.
Yeah, it's L.
And I mean, I was like really surprised at how it's a grimy movie, but it's a very well done story at the same time. It was really. I love Verhoeven, like the older stuff I've seen, but I really haven't seen any of his later works. I think L was one of, way past even RoboCop. I was like, dude, this guy's still got it. So
it was like 2016. That's very recent.
Yeah, that's he's done one movie since L. He did Benedetta.
Okay.
Was that any good? I've started that like 2 times, and I was kind of like, Benedetta.
I liked it quite a bit. Yeah, I liked it. It's got a very it's not
like lesbian nuns or something.
Yeah, she's a lesbian nun, and she's got like these visions of from Jesus and stuff, and he's very interested in religion. Like he almost became I think he was going to become a priest or something, and then for a minute, and then he was just like completely turned away from it. So a lot of his stuff is sort of anti sort of more interrogating religion, but he's just very interested in that stuff. So I am too. Kind of have similar feelings. So
there's a lot of like sexualization of the religious iconography that he doesn't mind.
Yeah,
it's like it's so like in what was the movie we were just talking? Fourth Man. He goes to church and he looks up at the crucifix and he's like kind of turned on by Jesus hanging there, and it
becomes the guy.
The lover.
The crucifix becomes the male lover, and he's like feeling him up and stuff. It's pretty crazy. It reminds me a lot of Ken Russell. Like I think he's a much more consistent director than Ken Russell. But
is Russell riffing Verhoeven, or is it the opposite?
Russell is definitely older. He's definitely been around longer. But they were both making movies in the 70s, so I think if anything, I would say that Verhoeven probably saw something, maybe saw The Devils or something. Because I think that's like 71 or something, very, very early. But yeah, they've got similar interests for sure. But Verhoeven's a much more commercial director. His movies are always entertaining, or like almost always entertainment first. Like he'll put messages in them, but never at the cost of like the entertainment value. That's what it feels like to me. But yeah, pretty interesting. That's what I've been looking at lately. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, it's funny you brought up the Dart, Clay, because I was actually watching something on Netflix that I've heard a lot of good stuff about, and I usually don't get into like series or anything, but it only had one season, so like I'll give this a shot. I started watching Midnight Mass.
Oh man,
3 episodes into it. It's really good so far.
Dang.
It's a little on the slow side. It's a lot of like character building, but it's really well done. And it's really good. So I mean, I'm hoping all the character building kind of pays off.
I've heard that show's amazing, actually.
But I've heard people call it like a masterpiece. I'm like,
Um,
okay. I mean, a lot of people throw words around like that these days, but yeah, I saw it brought up. I mean, it's a couple years old now, but I saw it just brought up or came across it on Reddit or something over the last like couple of weeks.
That's Mike Flanagan.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but that's the guy that did like Doctor Sleep, and he's done a few like good Stephen King movies and stuff like that. He's pretty beloved in the horror community now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's got a super A24 vibe to it, so I'm liking it for that. I don't know really where the story's gonna go. I just kind of went in blind. I knew it was kind of religious based and set on an island, and that was about it.
So is it one of those that Netflix discontinued, or is it something? Does it only have the one season, or?
Yeah, I think it was only meant to be it's 7 episodes.
I got you.
Like a mini series.
It was basically a mini series. So that was something that kind of like, okay, like 7 episodes, like I'm down for
I
that.
can do that.
I don't want to get into like seasons and multiple seasons of stuff and
Oh yeah.
I remember I started that show when it came out a couple of years ago, and I was interested in it, and I watched like 3 episodes, and then I just got sidetracked and I never went back to it. But I remember hearing someone talk about it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, it's like episode 4 where like everything starts happening." And I'm like, like so that's right where I stopped. So I need to go back. I just have to rewatch the whole thing, but I need to go back and watch it because I like his stuff. Like Hush is really good. He did Gerald's Game. That was really.
He did
good.
another series on Netflix, I think, didn't he? Like
I know he did Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah, that. Yeah.
Oh, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
The first season, I was an emotional basket case watching that. I don't know why. Like
I never watched it, but everyone says it's amazing.
Yeah.
The first season, I was like crying at the end of the fucking. I was just like, man, this thing is awesome.
He's a good director. No, all the stuff I've seen, I like.
It's really well done so far. So I hope it kind of pays off. But it's well done. It's interesting. It's kind of dark and dreary. It's not really gotten into the real horror stuff yet. They're still just kind of setting things up. That's probably why you bailed after 3 episodes. Is like they're still just kind of setting the stage for everything to kind of like hit the fan and then finish off big. I mean, maybe not big, but at least
it
cool
felt like Stephen King a lot to me though. Like his stories like always have like a long run in the beginning where they're setting up characters for a long time, but you really like if you stick with it, you get really invested in those characters, and then when the crazy stuff happens, it's even better,
Yes.
So it definitely reminded me of something like that. But I should go back to it and watch it, especially if you're gonna watch it. Maybe I'll watch it so we can talk about it.
Cool.
I'll watch it too. I'm excited to hear about that one.
Cool. Yeah. So give us your pick for next week, Chris.
I'm juggling with a few, but I settled on Dagon.
Oh, that's the
Stuart Gordon?
Stuart Gordon,
yeah, like Lovecraftian.
Okay,
I have not seen that. We've talked. My son and I have talked about it a couple of times, and I have never watched it.
Yeah, just got put on It just got
Is
put
it
on
German?
Shudder.
Nice. Okay. I think it's like 80 minutes or something too. Most of his movies are
it's a-
pretty short.
No, it was a little over an hour and a half, I think.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
Let me
Well, that's
see.
that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it wasn't crazy long, but let me see. I didn't save it in my watch list.
I know I've got it on my list because it's one of those Stuart Gordon movies. I was like, oh, it's Lovecraft and it's Stuart Gordon. I'll watch it eventually.
Yeah, I think you and I both went through I think you maybe did a few more than me, but we had watched Castle Freak.
Mm-hmm.
I
I
think there was
watched
another-
Dolls.
Oh yeah, I was thinking about watching that, but it looked a little too silly. So
It's stupid, but all the doll effects are pretty funny. You can tell they were trying really hard. There's like 1,000 dolls in that house, and they're like all attacking you at the same time. It was like, and lots of like stop motion effects and stuff. I thought it was pretty cool, and it's like 75 minutes or 80 minutes or something. It's like, yeah,
yeah,
you put that on at the end of the day, and you're not giving too much to it. So
cool. Yeah, it was
I enjoy stuff like
95. Yeah, 95 minutes.
cool.
And
Yeah, that
it's
just
in-
sounds good.
Just
It's
got
in
put on
Galician.
Shudder.
Galician language in Spanish. I guess it's like a dialect of northern Spain. Anyway, I thought it was in German for some reason, but it's Galician. So.
It was set in Spain, I think.
Yeah, Spanish. I'm excited to see that one, man. Hope it's good.
Yeah, it's been kind of on the list of my like Stuart Gordon movies I wanted to watch, and why not now?
Cool.
Awesome. All right. So join us next week for Dagon.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, this was fun. I will see you guys next week.
See you guys.
Bye.